Am I the only one who's ever waited for an apology that just never came? Not just a quick sorry, but the kind that actually explains everything. Or you think it will. The kind that acknowledges what you went through. And the kind that finally makes the pain make sense. A lot of us are taught that healing comes after accountability. That once the person who hurt us understands, then we'll finally be able to move on. But there's a moment in healing that no one really prepares you for. And it's not the moment you get hurt. It's not even the moment you realize what happened. It's the moment you look up and realize you're still bleeding, but not because the wound is fresh, but because you've been waiting for the thing that hurt you to explain itself, to apologize, to take responsibility, and to make it make sense. When someone harms you deeply, it can feel like being bitten by a snake. Usually, the injury is sudden, the pain is very real, and your first instinct is to look at the thing that bit you, waiting for it to react differently, to somehow undo that damage. But snakes don't do that. They don't explain themselves, they don't come back to make it right. And when our healing depends on someone else, on their words, their remorse, their understanding, the venom stays in your body for way longer than it ever needs to. But this isn't a story about staying wounded. It's a story about what happens when healing no longer depends on anyone else. Hi, loves. Welcome back to Amy's View Unscripted. I'm Amy, and this is Life in Motion, where we grow with intention, connect with purpose, and move the whole world forward by becoming who we're meant to be. Life isn't about perfection. It's about growth, resilience, and choosing ourselves again and again, even after life has tried to convince us that we shouldn't. And I want to start this story somewhere important, not with the wound itself, but with something we often overlook. A lot of us were already moving forward when we got hurt. We were open, we were trusting, we were doing our best with what we knew at the time. And getting bitten doesn't mean that you lacked strength. It means you hadn't yet learned where not to place your trust. And sometimes that lesson does not come gently. Sometimes the ground gives way all at once. When I talk about a snake bite, I use that comparison because it's really the closest thing I can think of that represents the harm, the pain, and the process of healing from it. And the deepest bite I carry happened when I was too young. And I won't go into details because I don't need to anymore. The story itself isn't where the power lives now. What matters is that it was layered with manipulation, pressure, and betrayal by people I thought I could trust. And like many people do, I believed the missing piece was that apology. So I asked for one. And almost immediately, I knew I'd made a mistake. Not because it was wrong to name the harm, but because I realized something essential. Snakes don't know how to soothe what they've injured. I wasn't met with accountability, and I wasn't met with care. I was met with deflection, minimization, and blame shifting that reopened everything I was trying to heal. And that's the danger of waiting for an apology from someone who caused deep harm. Because even when words are offered, they don't remove the venom. Sometimes they drive it deeper. And that was the moment I understood something hard, but very clarifying. My healing was never their responsibility. It was always mine. And that realization didn't feel empowering at first. It felt lonely. It felt like standing there and realizing that no one was coming to heal me. Because when you've been hurt deeply, the instinct is to look outward for relief. To believe that if they would just see it, say it, or own it, then your body will finally let go. But once you accept that healing is no longer dependent on someone else's words, something shifts. You stop outsourcing your recovery. And that's when the real work begins. It's quiet work and very unglamorous. And it's the kind that no one applauds, but everything depends on. Some wounds are obvious. Others take years to even name. And sometimes these snakes in our lives take many different forms, like toxic parents, manipulative friends, controlling partners, and authority figures who abuse their position. Some bites are singular, and others are cumulative. And it's okay to acknowledge how damaging all of it can be, in any form. And it's okay to grieve, to rage, to cry it out on the floor or scream it out in the car. Sometimes the poison leaves through tears, sometimes through anger, and sometimes through numbness before you even realize how much you've been holding. None of that makes you weak. It makes you human. But the key is not to live in the grief. You acknowledge the wound, and then you tend to it. You draw the venom out slowly. You stop reopening it for answers. And you stop letting their behavior define your nervous system. And over time, something shifts even further. And it's subtle at first. You don't just wake up magically healed one day, but you wake up noticing that the wound doesn't bleed anymore. There came a moment when I realized I didn't even want an apology anymore. For a completely different circumstance. But the difference is the old me would have been waiting for this snake to offer up even a shred of compassion that they were just simply incapable of. And it wasn't that what had happened was suddenly okay, but it no longer had authority over me. Their actions didn't have the control anymore. I did. I had already healed myself. I had already given myself that closure. And when you reach that place, something remarkable happens. Your voice gets clearer. Your boundaries get firmer. Your power stops needing witnesses. That's when you realize you didn't just survive the fall, but you were changed by it. Not diminished, refined. I didn't come back the same. I came back even more discerning, more embodied, and more grounded in myself. And I didn't do it alone. Safe people matter. People who don't question your reality. People who can sit with your wounds without reopening them. Their love didn't erase the scars, but it reminded me that I was always more than what happened to me. And once you reach that place where you can heal yourself and allow safe people to walk beside you, You stop asking for permission and you step into your power. Power doesn't look like revenge. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't require understanding from anyone else. Power can look like peace, like boundaries that don't need an explanation, like no longer organizing your life around what hurt you. And if you've stayed with me this long, I want to bring this all the way home. Not as a lesson, but as an offering. If you're watching or listening to this and realize you've been waiting for an apology, waiting for an acknowledgement, waiting for someone else to make it make sense, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't need permission to heal. You don't need their understanding to move forward. And you don't need the thing that hurt you to turn around in order to stop bleeding. This understanding took me years to build. So today I'm offering it to you. The snake may have left its bite, but you carry the cure. And if this resonated, if any part of this helped you name something you've been carrying, I want to invite you to do 3 simple things. First, stay. If you haven't already, subscribe and join me here at Amy's View Unscripted, because these conversations are meant to be returned to, just not rushed through and then forgotten. Second, share this with someone who might still be waiting for an apology. It's never coming. You never know who's quietly bleeding. And sometimes one shared reflection is enough to help someone begin healing themselves. And third, maybe most importantly, take something from this with you. Not the metaphors, not my words, but the knowledge that your healing does not depend on anyone else anymore. And before I go, I also want to say this clearly. Thank you for trusting me with your time and attention. I don't take that lightly. And I am sending you so much love in this chaotic world. Let's make it better by starting within and letting that spill out. Until next time.